big questions that's been hanging around impeachment all year is, how's it going to play politically? Now, the national polling shows it has already moved swiftly in the direction of plurality or even majority support for an impeachment inquiry. Even in some polls, support for impeachment and removal of president, which is startling. But the real question of the politics of this involves two groups of people. House Democrats in contested seats, who the Washington Post reports are getting pretty good attaboys at their town halls, and Republican senators up in 2020 in states where the president's approval rating is underwater. One such Republican who wasn't really even on anybody's radar as having a contested fight ahead of her is Iowa Senator Joni Ernst. And just look at what she faced yesterday from a constituent in the city of Templeton, Iowa.
Just this morning, we have President Trump saying, oh, we need to talk to Xi Jinping and have, President Xi and have him investigate Joe Biden. How is that helping anybody? Right. Where is the line? You didn't pledge an oath to the president. You pledged it to our country. You pledged it to our Constitution. When are you guys going to start standing up and actually be there for us?
Okay, so President Trump, if I can say yay, nay, whatever, President is going to say what the president is going to do. I can't speak for him. I'll just say that. I can't speak for him.
I know you can't speak for him, but you can speak for yourself.
And I do. Whistleblowers should be protected. Please let folks out there know.
And our president shouldn't be threatening them, and he also should not be encouraging other countries to investigate his political rivals.
I would say to that, corruption, no matter where it is, should be ferreted out.
I'm joined now by MSNBC political analyst Carlos Curbelo. He's a former Republican congressman from Florida, lost his race for re-election last year. Congressman, it's good to have you. You were pretty outspoken yesterday after the president was on the driveway saying, I want China and Ukraine and I guess whoever else to go after the Bidens. You said, look, this is kind of a make or break moment. What is your read on what Republicans should be saying here?
Chris, let's set impeachment aside for a second. There's a simple pass-fail test for Republicans here. Is the president's conduct acceptable or not? And a lot of those voters in suburban districts that swept Democrats into power in the House last year are looking for how Republicans are answering that question. And up till now, very few are passing the test. Very few are stating the obvious, that whether he should be impeached or not, it's unacceptable. It's wrong for any president of the United States to invite a foreign government to participate in any way in our electoral process. It's wrong for the president of the United States to use the power of the state and turn it against any individual citizen, especially someone running for public office and who might be running against him in November of next year. So I think a lot of Republicans really need to start taking this seriously. I know that privately they express discontent, discomfort, rejection for a lot of the president's conduct. I think it's time for them to start speaking up and making sure their voters and the country know what it is they're really thinking inside, how it is that they're reacting to this very difficult situation in our country.
Yeah, so I think that distinction is important. So today, Mitt Romney, senator from Utah, said, by all appearances, the president's brazen and unprecedented appeal to China and to Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden is wrong and appalling. Now, notice, again, he's not weighing in there on impeachment. The point you made there is an important one. You know, if you go back and look at the Democrats with Bill Clinton, a lot of Democrats, there were no Democrats, as far as I know, who were like, it was perfect, it was great what Bill Clinton did. That's totally fine. Like, people are like, no, that's not okay. He just shouldn't be impeached. It seems to me Republicans have a choice here if they're not going to support impeachment, which I don't think they will. Your option, which is this is not okay but not impeachable, and then John Cornyn today basically saying it's all fine. This is totally fine, whatever the president wants to do. He even said this today, John Cornyn. Now the Trump Justice Department is investigating foreign government influence, VP Biden conflicts of interest and possible corruption, unless he knows something we don't know, the Department of Justice going after the Bidens. Like, this is dangerous territory.
And Chris, that's a big mistake because look at the politics. Sure, the voters are moving toward impeachment, but it's still a divisive issue. There's no clear majority of Americans supporting impeachment, at least not yet. But Americans do expect their leaders to be truthful. And look, it's not easy. I get it. President Trump is very powerful in Republican primaries. And President Trump, and I know this from personal experience, is someone who demands absolute loyalty. Even what Senators Grassley and Ernst have done in Iowa, saying that they support the whistleblower, that the whistleblower should be protected, that the laws are designed to protect whistleblowers. The president does not look fondly upon those types of comments, and he looks to get back at anyone who even steps slightly out of line. So I get it. It's not easy politically, but there's a lot more at stake here than anyone's seat in the House or seat in the Senate. Our institutions are at stake here. And my Republican friends really need to wake up to that.
I agree with that. The last little thing, though, is the politics here for Susan Collins in Maine and Cory Gardner in Colorado and Martha McSally in Arizona, all states where the president is upside down on approval. It seems to me like I get that they're worried about primary, but I don't think it's a great look for them to be running around saying, like, this is totally fine, right?
It's a squeeze play, right?
Yes.
You need a unified base in order to win, but you also need swing voters, and you kind of have to decide who you're going to upset. And my advice is, unsolicited, by the way, that rather than worrying about who you're going to upset, just say the truth.
Yes.
Look, I lost a race. There's life after politics. It's okay.
Hey, you're on All In on Friday night. I mean, it doesn't get any
That's
better.
right.
All right,
I think I won.
Carlos Corbella, thank you very much for your time.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.